Hello and welcome to Rich Rides. This week I'm doing a little video about how to ride a scooter safely in Bali. So I've been riding a couple of months here now and think I have a sort of good handle on the safest way to ride. So this is a perfect opportunity. I'm out of the centre of Ubud and you'll notice lots of people not wearing helmets. So that leads on to the first thing, which is sort of equipment and safety. So like I say, a lot of locals, even though it's law, don't actually wear helmets. It's the one thing I really recommend you do. While I was here, within the first week, then someone came off a scooter, didn't have a helmet, they weren't local, needed, I think, £12,000 worth of fees, like medical fees. Their insurance wouldn't cover them. They were doing something like a crowdfunder just to get the sort of treatment they needed and to get back to Australia. So it's just not worth it. And if you sort of value your head, I really recommend you wear a helmet as an absolute minimum. For everything else, then again, you see all sorts here. Flip-flops sort of replace proper riding boots. Some people don't ride with anything on the feet at all. You see all sorts, and sort of vest tops are really common, and even no tops and just a pair of shorts. For me, a good example on why you should is try travelling at 10 mile an hour and just rub your arm on the ground. It's not going to be pleasant. So as an absolute minimum, the way me and my family have been riding is to not have any exposed skin. We've not been going to the sort of same things that I would at home with a full jacket and with armour, etc. I did do that for the first couple of days just until I sort of felt a bit safer, but I soon discovered that actually you never go over sort of 50-60 kilometres an hour really. So I likened it to being on a bicycle, where you don't actually get that fast. But like I say, personal choice is that one. As we're in a nice quiet area at the minute, it won't be good for showing you what it's like and some ways to handle traffic, so I'll head to some busier areas now. So traffic lights and junctions are interesting. As you can see, these lights have just turned green. Lots of people still coming through on red. A good sort of strategy I found is to use cars to shield yourself. Thankfully the cars here are pretty good because they're so used to scooters. They do tend to let you through and everything just moves sort of slowly. No sudden moves, so you can anticipate things. This is another good one. You'll notice my road positioning is way over to the left rather than usual command position you'd have in the UK, because what you'll find is things coming the other way, overtaking, and you'll even get people overtaking other people overtaking. So about to be an example here. So have to use your mirrors loads and lifesavers, which I'll come on to later. Also overtaking, as is demonstrated in front of me, then anything goes. Where you obviously wouldn't undertake people in the UK, it's really common here. People are used to it, cars are expecting it. And then here's going to be a good example of junctions. So here, what you'll find is just keep moving really. And as long as you're just moving, it's fine. One thing I did find strange initially, obviously they drive on the left the same as the UK here, but at a junction, if you're turning right into a junction, then rather than sort of go to the centre of the road and go to the left of the car, it's quite common here that people will just go round to the right of a car or scooters. You see that all the time. So don't be surprised. It was a bit of a shock at first, but you sort of soon get used to it. Another thing you'll see here, perfectly demonstrated there, is that people don't look and they do just pull out. I think the general rule is if something's in front of you, it's your responsibility to avoid it. So, like I say, you couldn't have got a more perfect demonstration then, but people just pull out straight in front, so you've constantly got to be aware of that and ready for that to happen. People do use the horns, not in an aggressive way, but just to warn people that they are coming up behind. So quite often if someone's going to overtake you, they'll be beeping, or if you're waiting to pull out at the side of the road, people will beep as they're approaching, just to warn you. Like I say, people don't use the horns in anger here, and all the time I've been here, then I've not seen any sort of road rage. People just sort of get on with things and let people pull out, and yeah, there's just no sort of people getting annoyed. There's obviously a few people that ride in an interesting manner. I guess you get that anywhere, where people will be doing ridiculous things, but people just let them get on with it. Here's another example. One way people set off on the other side of the road is to just come on your side of the road and basically up the curb side the wrong direction. And here's the typical junction. This is just a normal sort of junction, and that's what they tend to be like. Another big rule here, especially for scooters, is that people just keep moving forward. You'll never see people just stopped completely in a traffic jam. They're always like inching forward, swerving through, but this is all done sort of slow and steady, like I said before, and because everyone's doing it, bizarrely it actually works and it keeps traffic flowing. Of course, what that also means is that people are a bit strange with the behaviour, so you'll often see people riding up pavements towards traffic lights. Another demonstration in front is that someone's indicating right, they're obviously not turning right. Well, that one is, the one in front I was talking about. So look, she's got her indicator on. People tend to forget and leave their indicators on the time. People often put their hands out when they are actually turning, so that's another one to sort of remember. Another really good sort of safety tip is if you're turning right as well. So if you're turning right across the traffic, doesn't matter whether you indicate and get to the far right hand side, always do a lifesaver when you actually turn. A couple of times I've done that and something's been trying to overtake me. If I hadn't done a lifesaver, it wouldn't have been good, because if they're coming past you, they're normally coming past you fast as well. So the other thing to be aware of as a foreigner here, if you're involved in any sort of accident, it's assumed it's your fault. You see quite a lot of Westerns here trying to ride like the locals. I mentioned helmets before. Some people ride without helmets. They're the ones that get pulled over by the police. Also remember that here typically people have been on scooters since before they could walk, so their actual skill on them is absolutely amazing. Even if you're a decent motorcyclist, trying to ride like that here is probably not the best idea. And like I say, adapt your riding to their style, but don't try and copy it. Just be aware of those rules and ride accordingly. I think the minute you start getting overconfident and riding like some of the locals, I think that's when people sometimes come a cropper. So that's it for this week. I hope you found that useful. I thought it was worth putting together a little video just to help people out that were thinking about hiring a scooter, weren't sure what to expect and weren't sure sort of what the road rules were. Yes, it can be initially a little bit daunting, even if you're used to riding a bike, but really, actually I think it's fine. You soon get used to it and adapt. You obviously just have to keep your wits about you and always err on the side of caution, but I would recommend you do it. It's really worthwhile. Here we're in central Ubud, which is obviously quite busy. We're headed north a couple of times, and once you get out of cities, obviously it's a lot better. It's not as busy, and you can actually enjoy the riding rather than just being hyper focused and concentrating constantly, which is quite hard work. So thanks again for watching. Do give it a like and subscribe. If you've got any questions, then just leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you again next week.